All right, guys, live trade, 8:55 p.m. New York City time, East Coast. Some changing perspectives here as the price continues to go down. Not super aggressively, but momentum is being shaved off a little slower than I expected. And so it's certainly something to note and consider. This is one of the spots where I've always said that when you're in a trade, you should pay more attention to the opposing count than the current count that you're trading, and this is a clear example of that. As we were looking to get long, we started analyzing what might be if it's a motive sequence down, and so I got back, and that's the first thing I looked at, so I wanted to share those thoughts with you. Basically, my trade target as of now is unchanged, but we got to be careful now. I think the signals I'm getting from the market are leaning more towards a bearish count now than the past day or so that we've been doing this live trade. So anyway, on to the analysis. Okay, so this is where I left you guys, and I just changed this green back to gray. I had this fib green just to differentiate it from the one on the left, but now I've switched 100% to this one. As I mentioned, I think this is either 1, 2, or 1, 2, 1 with a pretty deep 2. So, well, not pretty deep yet, but if it gets to this golden pocket, relatively deep. I'm still playing that possibility, but now, as a result of this potential Y leg being so long relative to the W, it would be, let's see, at the projected range, it would be something in the order of, over 200% or so, way past 1618, which is very atypical. Now it's looking a lot more like 1, 2, 3 to me. And I think that this sideways fucker here complicated that impulsive downward count. So I took another close look at it and came up with this. So I have the original bullish count untouched as double zigzag combo, but on the bearish side, well, I was thinking of how to count this in a way that made sense to me, and basically I have a 5-wave completed down at around, between this 50 and the 618 here. I'll explain these measurements right around this 100% here. Let me explain these measurements, so just ignore them for a second. So the first thing to deal with was, what the hell is this? If it's not a zigzag, can it possibly be something else? And it could be a pretty ugly leading diag. I had to really zoom in here, just make this really long. I even went to the 1 minute time frame to confirm this, but potentially this could be a an A, little short B, and then a longer C for a 3-wave 1. This is clearly potentially a zigzag 2. And then I had all of this as an A, B, C down here for a 3, zigzag up. 4. This 4 does retrace this 1, so it qualifies. And then this is where it gets pretty ugly, is either all of this is A, B, C, or this is A, then this is B, and this is all long C. Anyway, the proportions aren't very, very standard, but there's no way to make this entire sequence standard to begin with. To me, the cleanest count is a zigzag with kind of a triangle B. But and especially with this volume profile declining and this big pump up here off of the E, it just I almost discounted everything else. But just in the spirit of being intellectually honest and covering all the cases, I went back and tried to count this as a leading diagonal 1, and it's possible. So I've got this little orange. The orange count is the bear case where there's an impulse down. So again, A, B, C 1, A, B, C 2, A, B, C 3, A, B, C 4 with an overlap of the 1, and then either A, B, C 5 or A, B, C 5. The proportions are not that standard either, but they're not crazy. So if this is the 1 for an expanding diag, we would expect 1618 for the 3. That one is pretty clean. Okay, but then from the 3 to the 5, depending on where you anchor it here, and it has to be here because you can have a triangle as a 4 in a diagonal structure of any kind, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, or 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. The reactionary waves, i.e. the 2 and the 4, have to be zigzag family patterns. So this is forced to be a zigzag if we're counting this as a diag. And, you know, the 5 is not quite 1618, between 127 and 1618. So the proportions aren't textbook, but they're close enough. They're reasonable. How about the 2 and the 4? Haven't measured that one. So if this is the 2, from here to here, whoops, from here to here, off of the 3, and the 4 would be about 1272. So you would expect something ideally closer to the 1618 that relates the 1 to the 3. But this is, you know, this is the 2 and the 4 are somewhat close to the relation between the 3 and the 5. So it's not crazy to call this a leading diag. Okay. As I mentioned in my prior videos, it's impossible to count this move down as anything but starting with a diagonal, and that's what we got here is a 1. Now you could have a leading diag as a 1, and the rest of the waves be standard impulse patterns. So you can still have this 2 as a double zigzag. That's perfectly fine, and in fact, you know, given that it's a sharp pattern correction, to be expected. Now, can you count this whole thing down as anything? Well, if you count this as a double zigzag ending here, then once again, you're starting with a leading diag, because how else are you going to count this, right? So then the way I dealt with this is I had to call this the 1, and this structure here an expanded flat 2, which I didn't love, but for the sake of being as technically accurate as possible and giving this potential impulse down a real chance, which it's looking like it's very much in play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a 1. That's clearly an impulse down, or can be counted as such. A, B, C up. A, B, C up. And then A, B, C down, and then 5 waves up. Or A, B, C up, A, B, expanded flat, B, C down. For the B, an expanded flat, and then the C, an expanded, an impulse up to put the expanded flat. So this is potentially an expanded flat. But if you can't count it that way, actually you can count it that way because a flat cannot have a B that's anything but a zigzag. So you would have to count it as A, B, C, and then a very sharp zigzag, which looks 5-wave to me, but you know, A, B, C, expanded flat. So this would be 1, all of this to 2, and then this 1 of the 3, which I have ending here, starts as a leading diag. Okay, 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 of the 3, a 4 that's an expanded flat, and then 1, 2, 3, triangle, little tiny triangle here, 4, and 5 for the 3. So that actually makes sense. Let's just label it so you guys know what I'm talking about. So I've got this as a 1, 2, what was it? Yeah, 3 ending here, 4 ending here, and 5 here, 1 lower degree. Like this. I'm just going to breeze through this a little bit because I'm telling you, it does count well. It's a little bit, strung up with diags and non-high probability patterns, but this whole wave shape is low probability, so it's very difficult to fit a standard, impulse 1, impulse 3, impulse 5, zigzag 2, flat correction 4 type of impulse down from here, from this swing high to the swing low. Impossible, right? So this is kind of how you have to count it if you're looking to make a high probability impulsive count down. 1, standard impulse, expanded flat 2 with a very sharp B and a very sharp C, which I don't love that, but I guess it qualifies. Then leading diag 1, 2, a long 3, which is very standard, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 of the 3. Then a flat correction, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 waves, so 3, 3, 5, A, B, C, 4. And then the 5 of the 5 being pretty standard too. 1, 2, 3, a triangle, 4, and then just a shot down for the 5. That all makes sense. Okay, so far we counted this 1, 2, 3 with the 1 being leading diagonal, 2 being a double zigzag, and then this 5 wave move down for the 3 being an impulse that starts with a leading diagonal and a flat 2 that's pretty deep. That's the part where it's a little bit, you know, I wouldn't say high probability, but you know, it makes the count work because it allows this to be a diagonal structure because all this overlap. How else could it be? That's how I backed into that count. Is if this is a diagonal, it fits within the 3 because the 1 of the 3 is the only position where you can have a leading diag as part of the wave. So you can also have an ending diag as a 5 of the 3, but that's not obviously not what this is. So so far we got this 3. Okay, then you have a tiny triangle here. I did mention that was a possibility when I drew this bigger one when I was counting this as a zigzag A, B, C. So this triangle here puts the 4 in, A, B, C, D, E, right? That qualifies. And now we're going down for the 5. Okay, you follow me? So this 4, it's a little bit short, but it did consume a lot of time. And again, what doesn't get put in time, it gets made up for. Sorry, what doesn't get put in terms of price gets usually made up for in time. And this sequence being lengthy, took all day, does qualify it under that little heuristic. And so if this is the 4, where would you measure the 5? Well, you know, first stop is the guideline of equality, right? So let's see. So yeah, so this leading diag 1 is from here, as you can see, to here, right? And the 5 should roughly be equal to that. So if we anchor that off of this 4 to measure it, 100% comes right around here, almost confluent with the 1272 of this double zigzag measurement that we had originally. Remember, this was the thrust measurement. Okay, 100% is here. It already breached the 100%. Now we're headed lower. We've got 100%, which is confluent 1272, as the first of the potential measurements for this impulsive sequence down where the 5 would end here. The other way to measure a 5 is to go from 0, the beginning of the impulse, all the way down to the end of 3, which is here, right here, okay? And then you anchor it off the 4, and 50 to 618 is the likely range. Well, that is between here and here, and the 100%. The guideline of equality for 5 equal to 1 splits the difference, right? So this is a high probability zone. Hold on. Having trouble with my tools here. This is a very high probability zone. It's about as textbook as you can get for the ending of this first impulsive move down on the bear count, which, you know, is confluent with the golden pocket trade that we talked about earlier. So to me, this is turning into a pretty bearish outlook. Nevertheless, a very nice win-win type of setup where if you believe this is a double zigzag down to put the 2 in, whether it's a 1-2-1-2 or a 1 completed 5-wave move up and all the way down for the 2 of the higher degree, this golden pocket is a must-buy. And similarly, if you're looking for the highest probability impulse count down, and you're looking for textbook measurements like 100% of the 1 is equal to the length of 5, or you know, 50 to 618 between 0 to 3 equals the length of the 5. Well, you got it here, fellas. This is what you call a win-win. So flipping back to the higher time frame, that box is right around here. Okay, I don't have that second impulsive count down, but now looking at this and looking at the oscillators, they're all bearish now. Any positive divergence you had disappeared. This ADX, you can see the momentum indicator. This move down is picking up momentum as it puts the final move down. Not good, guys. Not good. So I am now leaning much more towards the bearish count than this being an impulsive move up. Nevertheless, because of this setup, the win-win and the measurements, and you know this 100% 5 equal to 1 confluent with the 50 to 618, 0 to 3 off the 4, man, I mean, I don't like buying 4s, But if there's a possibility there's also a golden pocket on the bull count, and your risk is so small because you'd put a stop, right after the 65%, that's a trade I'll take. And so I am still looking to get long around here and potentially ladder down this golden pocket, maybe leaving a little bit more room because at the smaller time frame, actually I don't think I needed a little more room because the 50 to 618 stops before the 65% right here, which corresponds to this 65%. So if I ladder my buys through here and put a stop pretty tight, $10 below or something, maybe even $25 below, or even $50 below, depending on how much risk I want to be taking, well, that looks like a pretty sexy potential risk reward. Even if it's the 4, let's see, what do we get here? Even if all you're doing is buying the 4, which not the standard trade devils play, that's for sure, but let's say that it ends right at the 65% and is a 38% retracement, which is, or a 50% retracement, which is very typical of a 2, 50 to 618, from here to here and then up here. Look at the risk reward. I mean, if you're taking this much risk and playing for even a 382 retracement gives you at least, I haven't measured it, but it looks like easily 5 to 1 or 7 to 1 or something like that. And then if it hits 618, well, even better, right? So to me, this is looking still like a good long opportunity. But if we buy it and we win and we start moving upwards and it's looking like an ABC, I'm going to flip it and I'm going to short the hell out of this thing going downwards, and I'll let you guys know what my targets and such are. But right now, you've seen my thinking process throughout, 2 days of trading where, I took some risk here, moved my stop up, got stopped out at a small profit, was patient, measuring, qualifying the potential long, and then focusing a lot on the bear count, and then coming up with this count that I just showed you guys that has a lot of confluence technically with a pause before a retracement right where the golden pocket of the long opportunity for the bull count is. So once again, this is kind of how I do my trades. I'll take whatever the market gives me, whatever my orientation. Okay, so we'll see if this pans out, but could be a nice little trade and then lead to an even better trade, right? So if we go here and we're right, and this is 1, 2, and we're going out for the 3, or 1, 2, 1, 2, and we're going out for the 3, we're going to be super happy because we're clearing this high by a bunch. But if not, and we get stopped out at around here at a nice profit, or here, or even at the 618 over here would be even better. Well, time to reload on the way down, flipping the script as a short, and that's going to be a nice setup, because if this is all the 1 and the retracement is around here, what do you think the 3 will be? It'll probably break a new low. And we'll be accumulating that Bitcoin levered, which would be really nice. Anyway, that's the quick update for now.